What's going on, everybody? This is an episode from the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast. Do you like podcasts and you want to see the full podcast? Make sure you check out the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast on all your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, among many others. But you're listening to the episode right here on YouTube, so make sure you hit that like button and below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to NC Studios and NC Level Up for all your gaming needs. This is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. We gonna just talk about the Dark Side of the Ring episode that came on. This was, the tragic fall of Adrian Adonis. I was not familiar with Adrian Adonis, which is because Adrian Adonis was like in the 80s, so that was born in the 80s, but that was still before my time of watching wrestling. I'm a 90s kid, so I learned a lot. I learned about a lot of things that I did not know. So that's one thing. That's one thing I like. When it's very informative of things he's done. Career AWA, and then of course the World Wrestling Federation, and they had talking heads. They had on here Dave Steele, Bret Hart was even on here, and Bret Hart just like not giving a damn at all.
Who?
Damn, I said Bret Hart, but I said Bret Favre.
You said Bret Favre. That's why I was like, what?
I was about to say, did you say Bret Favre?
Yeah, I fucked that up for big time. Bret Hart.
Oh, man.
Bret Hart. My apologies, guys. So Adrian Adonis was first. He was known for being tough and strong guy. And he was a big guy. Now when he was in shape, he was like a big huge guy. So but then there was a time when he got really out of shape and was like really looking like sloppy, heavy.
Yeah, he was really big. I was like, oh wow.
So when he was growing up, him and he had the friends. And he started getting into wrestling. And he worked a gimmick back when he got into wrestling, where he would invite fans into the ring. For it was explaining how tough tough he was supposed to be for real. And they lasted 10 minutes with him, that they would win money. And Adrian, he would brutalize the fans, showing how tough he truly was. And which established him like a legitimate tough guy, which got him the job at the American Wrestling Alliance, which is the AWA. So when he was at the AWA, that was run by great Vern Gagne, which is a great guy. Was on the show, which is his son, and he was talking about how it was good that he was good at getting people over, especially for his size. He was the kind of guy that worked really good with smaller guys, and was able to and bump and stuff like that for smaller guys. So I was like, which doing all that got him noticed in Vince's eyes, and let him get hired by WWF. This is where stuff gets into the gets to the shits basically. Yeah. When he gets to WWE, Vince, and we know how Vince is. Mm-hmm. Vince is like, what is this tough guy?
He's like, leather jackets. Who needs them?
You need a gimmick. Well, the gimmick.
And what's the gimmick?
The gimmick they gave Adrian Adonis was to have an over-the-top
effeminate, I guess you would call it,
or homosexual character. That's what it was.
Adorable
Adrian Adonis. And it was a gay stereotype. He went out there with the makeup. Obviously, it was a play off of Gorgeous George, the role that he used to play. And Vince wanted to go out there and piss the people off. And that's the way it was. Did Adrian like the gimmick? He did not, but he did it. And they would go out there and, of course, boo him and say some derogatory things to him that I'm not going to repeat on this show. But, because I already slipped up once already. So, Dave Meltzer was on the show. Oh, relax. And he said that.
Because I'm sure somebody was just like, whatever.
Yeah, Kiki Wyatt eye roll, right?
Absolutely.
Since the gimmick was designed to encourage straight people in the audience to jeer a gay wrestler. So, Bret Hart comes in there. Bret Hart was just like, all right, this is young Bret Hart. This is still like Hart Foundation's Bret Hart. This is not,
He's a teenager.
Yeah, this is not, Bret Hart as we know and love today. So he says that he got into the back, and then they was in the back and they was doing coke.
Bro, the way they just be casually talking about how they used to just do copious amounts of drugs on these shows is wild to me.
Can I tell you how Bret Hart just did not care about mentioning anybody's name that was in that room?
Absolutely not. He was just like, all of them. They was all doing the drugs.
Bret Hart had actually like, I'm the last one left. They all dead. So let me tell you who was in there. Piper, Fuji, Dog. I was just like,
he really went down the list and was just like, we was all in there doing the cokes, and I was like, wow, bro, okay.
Yeah, he said, Bret was like, yo, everybody at that time did coke. So he said, he got to the hotel room, and then they were partying doing coke, and then he said, he was younger than basically. Adrian was like, yo, man, he's cool because he's like, oh god, Bret's in here to hide the drugs. So he's cool. Bret said that they tried. Because, I didn't think Bret Hart, was going to see Bret Hart, going into that. But I was like, yeah, okay, they tried it, but eventually Jim Neidhart stopped partying with Adrian because he said it got too much for them because they was drugged.
Bro, literally almost every Dark Side of the Ring, even if it's not like what leads to their demise, there is a section in there where it's just devoted to them being on that shit. All of them.
The only Dark Side of the Ring this season I haven't heard about drugs was Magnum TA.
Right.
Every show from Chris and Tammy to what's that third one? The family everybody killed themselves.
Eddie Graham,
Doink the Clown, Junkyard Dog. And now Adrian Adonis, my God.
Everybody. Like, literally every single person ever. I was like, oh, okay, guys.
Well, I was like, I wouldn't even been allowed to you know what I'm saying, to add on. They'd be like, I'm like, oh, y'all doing the booking sugar. I think I'm out. But then, as much as he was doing the drugs, it made him more violent and aggressive. And also, he liked to kind of like bully people in the ring, which interested Dan Spivey.
This story was rough.
Who worked in WWF for a little bit as well, and he talks about how Adonis went too far with him during matches, and showing a little like tough guy some day. So he was kind of like pissed off about that. So when they were booked to wrestle again, because somebody didn't show up. I forgot the name who he said didn't show up. So they put him in the ring in there. Now, according to the episode, he said it was fine. But during other shoot interviews that I was listening to some other things earlier today, it said that he didn't want to work with Adrian. But, it's like, hey, ain't nobody here. You want to get paid? Get the hell up out of here. There was no guaranteed money back in the day for wrestlers. Uh-huh. So he went out there, and then Adrian's putting a sleeper hold on him, doing it a little bit, doing it tight, and trying to make him pass out. Then he snaps. And then he goes, starts punching Adrian, and then the referee's like, hey, Dave, damn, man, that ain't the finish. He said, I just changed the finish. I was like...
He beat the brakes off that man in that ring.
I was like, damn, that's a badass line to say. I changed the finish. He ain't going over tonight. So, and then he goes backstage. So then Adrian comes backstage, and they confront about what's going on in the ring, and Dan went off and knocked Adrian out cold. He said he gave him an uppercut. It sounded like a shotgun went off.
He said he punched him so hard you could see that he bust that man to the white meat show.
Literally. His face. Look, he said like an eating watermelon.
That's wild. I'm like, bro, how hard you gotta punch somebody?
But you know the first thing I thought of, right?
What?
You know what the first thing I thought of, right?
What?
Harlem Nights.
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
Bro, why did he scream like that?
That's the first thing I thought of. When every time somebody says I uppercutted him, like, you gotta say how mad you gotta be to bring
it down,
to get the Ken Masters going, to get your Shoryuken on, and to come from the bottom and bring that shit as an uppercut. To want to go up instead of over.
That's definitely giving Philly sound effects.
Is it?
Because I was like, mink, mink. Like, oh, damn, okay.
They said blow. They said his cheekbone was sticking out his face.
Out his face.
I was like, boy.
Bust that man to the white meats.
And so, Dan said he was fired after that, like a month later. There has been records that he has worked for WWF like for another 2 years after that before he was let go. So, but they said Adrian was never the same after that ass whooping.
I mean, listen, what did we be talking about? Not even with kids, before we go there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you meet some people like, you know what? You never had your ass beat in the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks just need to run across the right person.
They break it back and make it humble.
You need just a little teeny to fuck around and find out. Just a little bit.
But where is that coming from? So you see this when you fuck around? We go around, you go find
out.
I would say that clip. So, he starts really going into the drugs, and then he starts going on an eating binge.
Yo, when that man, I said, oh, he was not fucking around. He was big as hell. He
gained a lot of weight, and they showed up.
Like, and still actively wrestling. That was the part that was blowing me. Like,
well, okay, so he wasn't doing the same working out, so that he would like just binge eat and then lay down and do all that and do the same thing in the morning. And he just kind of like, you know, in wrestling, it's kind of like when I hear Kenny Smith, you know, because you know who I'm talking about. When I see Kenny Smith and he be talking about like.
Why is he muted right now? Oh no.
Oh no, basketball jokes.
So he was like, you get in shape to play basketball. You don't play basketball to get in shape.
Stay in shape, yeah.
So same thing with wrestling. You get in shape to wrestle, not wrestle to get in shape. So he was grossly like 400 pounds. I'm talking about like carrying the weight just bad, you know. And I'm just like, ugh. So when he came back for like some other shows, and then I forgot which company it was in. Because he got fired from WWE for you know, which they claimed was drug use. It could have been the only thing because everybody else was on drugs.
That's what I'm like. How?
I think until it started affecting what the hell was going on with your performance in the ring, they had to let you go and had to bring out like, you know,
so y'all got a bunch of Jeff Hardys and Alicia Foxes running around. That could be problematic.
Yeah. Greg Gagne talked to him and was just like, you need to get your life back together. And I think that he said that's what sent the click. So he went to get back in shape, lost about 100 pounds, and then he went on a wrestling tour in Japan and dropped the adorable gimmick. He was done with the, you know,
please, because
with the gay stereotype stuff. And now we take a trip. He goes over to Japan. Now we take a trip into this other little side story to introduce characters that we didn't even know before, because he was traveling with the Kelly twins. It was a Mike Kelly and a Pat Kelly.
Yep.
They look like, you know, these old school strong guys. They were this tag team twins, like we see it today with the Usos, you know.
Yes.
But now these were the Kelly twins from back in the day. And then there was a Dave McKinley, aka known as the Bear Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My man. He was doing a lot.
Yeah. Not just simple like, oh, okay, you know.
Like that's a nickname.
Yeah, no. This man was known as the Bear Man, and he would actually be like train bears, stuff like that, and was promoted along with wrestling. A terrible incident happened where he had left one of them bear cages unlocked.
Oh,
the bear got into his house and mauled his girlfriend that was in the shower.
Horrible.
Because the bear was in heat.
That's wild.
And the reenactment made it like it was like Psycho, like, you know, for the horror movie Psycho.
We got to talk about Dark Side of the Ring reenactments.
Oh, they've been bringing it with season 4.
So what would a dude eye popped out? I said, "Oh, we're not doing this."
They did that, right? And I was sitting there like, I can't imagine being in the shower, because I know how I am in the shower. You know, say wash your face, my eyes be closed all the time, so soap don't get in the eyes, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you got this 7 foot, 456 pound bear in heat.
Ain't nothing stopping that bear.
That's a terrible way to go.
Yes, it is.
You know, terrible. I mean, everybody don't die praying. Everybody, you know, can wish they could just go out peacefully, but they're just like that to be that. Oh my God! I was like, what?
But that's the other thing about it. It's like, why didn't you stop after that?
Yeah,
I don't understand that one.
Fate forced him to stop. Then we get introduced to Ricky Johnson, and I was like, who this brother? It's Rocky Johnson's brother.
Soul Man Johnson's brother.
And because when he came on the screen, Lady Sketch was just like, yo, that look like Rocky Johnson, don't it? And I was like, yeah. And it revealed that it was Ricky Johnson. And I was just like, wait, he had a brother?
He did not talk about his family, remember?
Yeah, I was like, oh, Dwayne Uncle, what's up? And I was just like, I didn't know. And he was there on the tour too, but he was supposed to get in the car with the Kelly twins, Adrian Adonis, and Dave the Bear Man. I just put it like that. But he did not get in that car. He took a van with some of the other wrestlers and followed by. So as they were driving, some say, Mike Kelly, who's the one that's still here, was saying that we don't know whether it was a bear cub, whether it was a moose from the police reports. We don't know. They swerved out the way from hitting something, fell off this cliff about 15 feet down and crashed into a rock. When Mike woke up, he looked over and saw Pat, his brother, slumped over on the steering wheel. He was like, he knew he was dead. Mm-hmm. And Dave, the Bear Man, he died too. And Adrian was the only one that was still at that time still alive. But he said his bone was sticking out of his arm, and he was having trouble. He was calling out for help.
Yeah.
And they were, he said he was alive, but he was in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Despite what me and Lady Sketch have been saying, there were no drugs involved with the crash or alcohol, because everybody's been heavy on drugs. The sick thing is, some of the guys that work for the Bear Man,
yeah, they went and robbed him while he was laying in that van dying or dead.
And I was like,
that's crazy to me.
The man sitting there asking for help. It's just a serious situation. I was like, and I mean, granted, I know there's no cell phones in the 80s, but I'm saying, but still, I'm like, wave somebody down to get some help. They
really needed a cell phone because they did have somebody they knew right behind them.
Yeah.
All they got to do is get to a place that has a landline and call 911 or whatever it is in Canada.
And I was just like, there's some sick fucking people in this world.
Absolutely. Because what's the matter with y'all?
But he ends up dying later in the hospital. And it was sad because, one thing I didn't mention when I was talking about the drugs part was that Bret Hart said that all that stuff that you see him doing when he was at work, he didn't bring that home.
Yep, they said he was a big family man. They had his kids and his wife on there talking about him, and they all had nothing but great things to say.
Yeah, and I was like, that's such. Even Bret Hart believed that he was getting his life back in order. He said he could have seen him in versus Adonis at WrestleMania if he had lived. Maybe, but I don't think so because of Vince. Okay, not because of his talent, because of Vince. You know what I'm saying? Bret Hart, you know better. So that was the Adrian Adonis episode. It was deep at times.
It was sad.
Even hear about Mike Kelly talking about his twin. Like, I can't imagine losing a twin that looks like you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That would be traumatizing.
Yeah. And it's just like, my God. And Adrian Adonis is only 34 years old. Only 34 years old. And I'm just like, sheesh. That was something. This Dark Side for season 4, it's been coming. It's been coming. Now, we are recording on Tuesday, so tonight's episode was about Abdul the Butcher.
Oh. I didn't know that one.
Mr. Fork himself.
I had no idea that was happening.
And then next week I think is Bash at the Beach 2000. I can't wait.
I did hear about that one.
I can't wait to see that one. So I think it was a really good show.
That was a good one.
Yeah, one of the best. And I'm not saying this parade on people suffering, but I'm just like, hey, that was a pretty good one.
It was done well.
Done what? That's pretty
like
good.
To lead up into the accident, who the players are, and what happens, and aftermath. That was done well.